great evening. Beautiful Thursday evening. All right, give me a second real quick, guys, while I find myself over here on my laptop, just so I don't echo. All right. Yep, as soon as I said that, it echoed. Okay. All right, we'll give it a little bit, let some people come on in. How's it going, everyone? How's it going? Hope everyone's having a great evening. Give it a few minutes. Oh, we're going to be talking about the potential federal cannabis seed ban that they kind of snuck in to the farm bill there when they changed the hemp definition and stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and talk about cloning and tissue culture. So, yep, we're going to get down on all that right now, guys. Bear with me here, folks. Just trying to set up everything a little bit more better here. Right. Sorry, it's thirsty and had to take a toke. Okay. All right. So, guys out there, so my gromies, what the hell are we gonna do when it comes November 12th and they have that potential seed ban? What's gonna happen, right? We got a lot of what that's gonna happen. A lot of cloning, a lot of tissue culture that's gonna be happening because they didn't talk about anything about all that. So I know for sure cloning's in there, tissue culture's in there. Now seeds are gonna change. That's gonna change, guys. And we're going to talk about it here this evening. And so we're going to start off. So what's exactly happening? So, okay, so Section 781 of the Public Law 119-37 was enacted on November 12th of 2025, guys. So that was last year. Now, this doesn't go in the schedule and doesn't go into effect 365 days later. That it goes into effect on November 12th of 2026. Yo, hey, what's up, Christopher? How's it going? How you doing? Thanks for coming out, guys. Thanks for coming in this evening. Yep, we're talking about the potential federal cannabis seed ban, guys. That's coming in on November. We're going to talk a little bit about it, just so we all have a better understanding and a clear picture of what exactly is happening. Okay, so we know it's from the 2018 Farm Bill, guys. We know that. They changed it. They went in there and then they changed the definition of hemp. And doing so, cannabis seeds are affected. And we're going to get into it right now, guys. So why are they calling it a seed ban? Well, the new definition says that hemp does not include certain viable cannabis sativa seeds from the plant that exceeds 0.3% of total THC, and that's including THCA on a dry weight basis. That we guys, I mean, stuff like that. Those are going to be in a state that has already legalized it, and you're able to grow it. So what will happen is you'll probably be able just to get your genetics only within your state. Is what looks like it's going to happen. It looks like it's going to take an impact. Now we'll see how long it still continues, but that's definitely going to take an impact. So I'm just kind of bummed out. I'm like, damn, you know, I just wish. I don't know. I hope, because usually, okay, so here, let me get this out. So usually when they change something and something comes into effect, usually it still takes a while. I mean, somebody will come in and try to rebuttal it, which I'm hoping somebody does come and rebuttal that and change it, the definition at least a little bit more clear, so that way we're able to still keep growing our genetics that we like and love, and we don't have to sacrifice for something that they want us to grow that's way less. Oh, okay. Stuck in loading. YouTube is glitching out. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Is it still, am I still glitching? All right. Well, let me know. Let me know if I'm still glitching or you can hear me. You guys can hear me or see me. All right. We're going to still continue. We're going to get right back into it, guys, here. So, okay. So we know that some of our favorite high testing genetics and testing high THC genetics are going to be affected by it. Now, I still think that I still believe that in your state, if it's legal, you'll be able to grow. I mean, you can even have seeds are not going to go away forever. Let's put it that way. And I don't think this ban is going to be too hard on anybody. I think it's going to change pretty damn quick, guys. In my opinion, there's just too many states that are legalizing it, and I mean, if you have all these states, especially neighboring states that are legalizing it, so why wouldn't you be able to go online and buy from a different state? Go online and buy from your neighboring state if you wanted some of their genetics because your state didn't have it, and stuff like that. So I don't see a reason why that wouldn't be an issue. But if this does go through and affect guys, then yes, it's going to be an issue because of the high testing THC that it's testing out as. So I mean, even if it's as a seed. So what they're changing is, so even okay, so let's do this. So in simple terms, guys, a viable seed may no longer qualify as federal hemp. It won't be in the hemp anymore, where we can buy it online. We could do anything we want with seeds and genetics and stuff like that. So it's no longer qualified as federal hemp. That changes merely because the seed itself contains almost no THC. So that law connects the seed exclusion to the THC level of the plant. Um, so okay, what could be affected? Okay, so the change could have major consequences for high THC photo periods and autoflowers. The seeds, the breeders, online seed banks, seed giveaways, trades. I mean, that could be, a federal issue, which I don't know. I mean, maybe seed giveaways or something like that. I could see probably being an issue. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out, guys. We're gonna learn when it comes November 12th. But I still seriously think that it's gonna get rebutted, and we're gonna be able to still have our genetics and our seeds, and still grow them. I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen, and I hope not. But even if it did, let's just say it did, right, guys? They went strictly right after high genetics, high THC genetics, our favorite ones, or not our favorite ones. Even if they went after them, let's talk about it. So let's say they did that. So if they did that, that's not going to stop. I mean, that's never stopped me from getting genetics. I mean, I've got buddies and I mean, I know a bunch of people that I can go to and get genetics. I'm sure a bunch of you guys know a bunch of people yourselves that you guys can go and get genetics. But not only that, guys, think about this. You still have clones. You can still clone out there. Now, I mean, for me, cloning, I mean, that's amazing. And they didn't touch into that either. So if they didn't get into that, what's to say that you just can't keep getting cuts from your friends and then just keep growing that way? And they didn't say nothing about sending cuts over state lines anyway either. So maybe that's something to think about too. If you got a buddy living a neighboring buddy next door in the state, and you want to send them, what you're growing. And stuff like that. Or if let's say for instance, that Chad Westport, no joke. If you were growing that, you wanted to send a cut, you got a cut of that, and you want to send it to your buddy over to the next neighboring state. I mean, I think you could do that. I don't. There's nothing saying nothing about clones uh, not being able to cross state lines. At least not to another prohibited state. I can see that. But if it's a neighboring state that does allow growing and does allow recreational and medical cannabis, then I believe uh, you would be a-okay. That would be a-okay. But then it becomes more than a seed issue. So the law also changes the general hemp standard from delta 9 THC focused definition to total THC, including THCA. And and creates additional restrictions for hemp-derived cannabinoid products. Now, this is of a broader federal hemp law change, and not a standalone sentence banning every cannabis seed. So it's not after every single cannabis seed, but it's targeting high producing high THC plants. Hmm. Oh, heck yeah, Christopher. Road trips for sure. Hell yeah. Definitely. And that's if they do it, but I don't think they will, guys. I mean, I think we're gonna be okay. I think this is gonna be just a little scare. I think someone's gonna come in and try to define that definition of hemp and get in there and maybe help us out. I mean, like I said, there's way too many states going across that are just legalizing it. So I mean, if I mean, I don't understand why everyone will legalize it, but then not make, not, don't let you have access to the seeds and genetics to grow it. Um, Now, if they're trying to start a company or a business, the government themselves, in order for them to issue out what genetics and who grows what, well, then that's pretty shitty. That would be pretty fucked up, in my eyes. I would assume so. I don't know how you guys would feel about that if you had to go to the government to get your genetics and stuff like that. Like you had to go to a specific place just to get your genetic. Like you couldn't go call online your online breeders. You couldn't go, even locally, if you have a dispensary down the road that sells beans, um, and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I want to be able to access and buy what I want to buy freely without being, cattled in to what I'm able to grow and stuff like that. Like, now that's not happening, but I'm just saying if that was to happen, that would suck. Okay, so what this does not automatically mean. So it is too broad to say every cannabis seed becomes illegal nationwide on November 12th. Now, the statutory language is more specific. Now, the state medical and adult cannabis laws also remain separate from federal law. This especially important questions involve whether a viable seed still qualifies as hemp and how federal law applies to sales, transfers, and interstate commerce. Exactly. It's like, so how do we, I mean, interstate, how do we, like, it, to me, what I got from that is because state medical and adult use and cannabis law also remains separate from federal law. I think that's still state medical. If you're still state medical, and I believe they took away the oh crap, what's it called? The criminal aspect of cannabis, right? So it's a lighter, everyone would get a lighter sentence depending. Now, if you got caught with like 15, 20 pounds, you're going to jail for sure. But if you got like an ounce on you or something like that, and you get caught with an ounce on you, I believe most states are usually up to an ounce or 2 ounces, that you're up to able to have. So, I mean, even if I think if you were a medical patient, cannabis patient, and then they caught you with an ounce, I think you would still be fine. Even if you traveled across state, even though they tell you not to. But I think you would still. I don't see it. I don't see it as such a big deal because if you're going into another state that does allow it recreationally and medically, I don't see the big deal. I think that's that person that needs it medically, so they should be able to take it from state to state wherever they go. Now, I understand prohibited states. Of course, you're not going to take it to a state that doesn't allow it, or else you're going to get in trouble for it, and nobody wants to get in trouble for it. So, all right. So could this still change? Yes, the November 12th, 2026 effective date is enacted federal law, but Congress can amend, delay, or repeal the provision before then. So like I said, somebody can always come in and rebuttal that shit, and usually somebody will come in and they will rebuttal that. Um, so it's definitely it's I can't wait till that it's coming up soon, guys, and I can't wait because I'm pretty positive somebody's going to come in there and rebuttal that, and it's going to work out in our favor. Um, and I have that feeling, and if not, like I said, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop anything. I think everything will still continued as before. Like, we used to buy seeds sketchy, from places on websites that were from overseas, and it would take almost like a month before you would get your seeds again. I mean, if that would happen, I mean, I guess we'll go back to that. And that's if you don't absolutely know anybody. Um, but I know a few, so I know a few people, and that plus I saved a couple of genetics too and stuff like that, guys. And even though I am an autoflower grower, guys, I do have photo periods, and I also have some more photo periods coming on the way because I do plan on growing those. And and that was going to be I think around Christmas time. I said around Christmas time I was going to start growing photo periods, um, and we'll start documenting that right now. I got 3 autoflowers growing right now. I had to start over again. So if those of you saw my last video, a couple videos before, I had to pull the plug. She got stunted. Um, yep, I pushed her too hard is what I did. Um, I gave her way too much nutrients in the beginning and then expected her to grow super quick and fast, and that didn't work out. She got stunted by day 19, 20. I noticed she's not anywhere near where she should have been. And because I only have this 2x2 here, I got to have a really decent, strong grow in there so I can have a good harvest. So, yep, just a little update on that, guys. Okay, so yeah, so I mean that's a little bit about it, guys. I mean it can affect seeds that would exceed 0.03% of total THC and including THCA. So after those high, I mean you're I hate to say it, it's going to be some of the best genetics out there, guys, that they're trying to go after. And it's not that they're trying to go after specifically, it's just the way they put it in the definition when they changed the hemp law on there. That's what it did. That's what it created. It created this shithole for seeds. But guys, like I said, I promise, I feel it in my heart. Someone's gonna come rebuttal that shit, and we're gonna be able to have our seeds and grow whatever we want and however we want and continue to push the limits in cannabis cultivation. And we're gonna fucking keep going. We're gonna rock that shit out, guys. And I think they need to go and study that plant a lot more for health reasons. I mean, because it just does. I mean, it does wonders. I mean, on me. I mean, I've got insomnia, PTSD. Let's see, appetite control. That helps a lot with appetite control and stuff like that, because sometimes I won't get hungry at all, and then get hungry. I don't know if you guys like don't eat without the whole day and then all of a sudden you get hungry, so you just eat one big ass meal, which is not really healthy, guys. You shouldn't really eat one meal a day. Try to spread it out into a couple meals throughout the day so your body has something to burn, and doesn't immediately store it as calories. Anyway, we're not going to get into that shit. Anyway, so all right, so we talked about the Farm Bill, 2018 Farm Bill, a little bit about the potential cannabis seed ban, guys, and you guys got my thoughts on it. So now we're going to talk about cannabis cloning and tissue culture. We're going to jump into that a little bit, because why not? I mean, that's going to go hand in hand if that seed ban does really take effect in the 12th, which I don't think, but if it does, it's going to go hand in hand with cannabis cloning and tissue culture, because those are the two things that they left out. I mean, they left that out pretty damn, like, now my understanding is they let so much of it out that it's free. I mean, it's pretty much free to do what you want to do with cannabis cloning, or tissue culture. Now, tissue culture is a lot more on the harder side. You've got a lab, or you would need more like a lab setting and stuff like that to grow in tissue culture. Okay, so let's talk about cannabis cloning, guys. Okay, so if the seed ban does take effect, we're going to be doing a lot of cuts and a lot of cloning. We're going to get a lot of, cuts from our homies, gromies, stuff like that, as much as we can out there. And everybody's just going to probably become an even more tight-knit community, and sharing different genetics and helping everyone out, I believe if that seed ban does take effect, that's what would happen. I think everyone would band together even more closely, and we would still have our genetics, and we would still just be more cautious of who we pass our genetics to, but more or less that we would still be sharing them and still keep them alive, keep the genetics still alive and thriving. I truly believe, I think that's what's going to happen. So, okay, so. All right, what's a cannabis clone, guys? So, I mean, for your newbies out there, let's see. It's just a clone is a new plant produced from vegetative material from another plant rather than from a seed. I guess that's about as best as I can break it down. Now, for those of you that know my channel, you already know we talked about cloning quite a bit. So we're gonna jump in and go to, rooting. We're gonna talk about roots. Rooting when you're rooting clones and stuff like that. Why it's important. So how can a piece of stem suddenly make roots? Well, plants have remarkable development flexibility. Many plant cells retain the capacity to change their development program in response to signals from the plant and its environment. Now, when a cutting is separated from the donor plant, it loses the donor's established root system. The cutting has to survive while reorganizing growth and producing new roots. Water balancing becomes especially important because leaves can continue losing moisture even though the cutting cannot yet replace the water through roots. So it would take so basically, when you take a clone, and then you'll cut around the leaves, the tips. You'll see a lot of growers do that, cutting around the tips. What that does is that'll help. It'll help with the. Yeah. Hey, thanks. Yeah, it'll help with water uptake in the leaves, and it keeps it, and then it just keeps it from the leaves. It keeps it nice and uniform. When the growth does come back in, and you do have roots, but it focuses when you cut that off. It mainly focuses on its roots. It want to sends all those auxins and all those hormones into its rooting, I guess, rooting stage, rooting hormones, whatnot. So when a cutting, okay, so plant hormones are involved in this response, obviously. Like I said, the auxins are particularly important in root initiation. So is why rooting products used in horticulture commonly contain auxin type compounds, because that's what helps kickstart that rooting. So that's why you find a lot of those, Clone X rooting gels and stuff like that, or even the powdered. I don't know if you guys ever came across some of the cloning hormone powdered to help the rooting. You would just dip it in some powder and stuff like that, and then put it in your medium. I don't know if you guys ever come. I personally like the gel. The gel seems to have more contact around the whole stem itself. That's my personal opinion, my preference. Everyone's got their own out there. So hell yeah. Okay, so let's talk about hell yeah. All right, so I'm not going to get too much into rooting because we've on my other channels, my other videos, we talked about that. We talked a lot about cloning and we went over it. Now I'm just going over briefly over this stuff, guys. And the only reason why I'm doing that, because this is going hand in hand with the November 12th potential seed ban that's happening. And if that does happen, I want my viewers out there, I want you guys well aware on how to clone, how to take clones. And I will be doing, this Christmas, I will be starting to grow. So right now, guys, I'm growing nothing but autoflowers, but on Christmas, I will start switching over to photo periods, and I'll start doing photo periods. Now, when I do photo periods, guys, I will do more in-depth videos on cloning. I'll have like a camera that's right around my forehead, so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing with my hands, and then I'll be speaking as well, in a podcast style class form. I'll be teaching and going over every step and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and I truly believe that every grower should know how to clone. Gotta learn how to clone. All right, yeah. All right, guys, let me take a little toke here real quick. Sorry if I go silent. All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about why clones succeed or fail. So when cloning fails, people sometimes assume that there must be one magic mistake. Usually it's more useful to think in categories. So first is water balance. Before root development, a cutting has limited ability to replace moisture lost through its leaves. So too much dehydration can cause wilting and tissue damage. So this is why it's important while we throw them in a dome clone, the clone dome or whatever you want to call it. It's just a dome that holds a shit ton of humidity with two little notches at the top, usually, that you can adjust on how much oxygen that lets in. And we have that in there, and that's why you want it really high humidity, about 75 to 80% humidity in there when you have clones, pretty high in there to start off. you want it pretty high, and that's because of the moisture loss. You don't want them to lose too much moisture all at once, because it could damage them. Um, so yes, all right. So we've talked about that. So at other extreme, excessively wet, stagnant conditions can encourage disease and reduce oxygen around developing tissues. Yeah. So if you have it too humidity, too much humidity in there, yeah, you'll start. It's bad news. So I mean, there is a delicate balance. And when I have clones, sometimes I'm gonna let you guys know a little insight on what I do. So what I do is when I get my clones and I first put them in the dome, um, I'll leave them there overnight, of course, in about 80% humidity. I'll spray the hell out of that, out of the dome and out of my leaves, out of everything, and leave it overnight. And then the next day, what I'll do is I'll start like how you would burp when you cure jars. I would burp the clone dome. I would just take the lid off for about 30 seconds and then put it back on. And I would do that a couple of times throughout the day, and that would seem to harden them off, get them used to that dryness coming in. But plus, it added that extra oxygen in there. So even if I did have it pretty wet, cool, yeah, awesome, hell yeah, I'm not the only one that does that. Cool, yep. Yep. And it's just, yep, you're just burping them basically. Yep. And it's just keeping you're just keeping that balance between not having too much humidity to where you'll have, mildew, powdery mildew start coming in, or diseases and stuff like that. Different diseases. And so it's always good to think about that, guys, yeah. So, okay. So third is donor health. So, oh, sorry. Well, we talked about, first one was the water balance. The second one is sanitation. So yes. So sanitation, your cutting tools, hands, your work surfaces, containers, and propagation areas, that can move microorganisms from plant to plant. So clean horticultural practices reduce unnecessary contamination and cross transfer. So just be clean, make sure everything's clean. I mean, if you have to go as far as using gloves sometimes, hell yeah, use gloves. If you had issues in the past before with a lot of diseases, then I'd be a lot more, I'd be more prone to be like a doctor. I would approach it like a doctor, come in with gloves, maybe, I mean, I wouldn't wear a mask or anything. I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, definitely with some gloves. And make sure that my cutting tools are definitely, with some rubbing alcohol, just sterilize them. Leave them in there for a minute or so, and then wipe them off with some paper towels and let them air dry before I use them. That's a good one there. Now, the third is donor health. Now, if the source of the plant carries a pest or a systematic pathogen, vegetative propagation can preserve more than desirable genetics. It can also carry biological problems forward. So this is one of the major limitations of repeatedly propagating a line through ordinary cuttings. You can, I mean, if your plant's sick and already has something wrong with it, you're just passing it on, and you're just creating more generations of it. So it's very important to make sure that you have healthy donors when you are doing your cuts. So, and that's why you hear almost every grower out there tell you that, hey guys, when it comes to your mother plants and you're keeping them alive, keep them very healthy, especially when you're going in for your cuts. Yep. And that's that, so clone versus seeds, I mean, that's been that's a good little topic we could talk about right now. Let's clone versus seeds. What do you guys prefer out there? Let me know in chat. Me, I actually prefer seed. Now, I do like clones, and clones are very handy and very helpful. But I like seeds because I can control my genetic. I don't want to grow just one plant and then get clones off of that and then keep getting clones off of that. I'm going to get burnt out on that strain. I think anybody would. So I would like a little diversity. So I like seeds, and I would choose seeds to grow. Now, if I was on an island and I had to choose one or the other, seeds or get clones for the rest of my life, I would choose seeds. Definitely, I would choose seeds, and that's just because I'm so used to growing from seed. It's almost like a comfort thing now. Do I know how to clone? Yes, I know how to clone. I will be cloning. I will be showing you guys how to clone, and how to take care of them. I'll do a special episode from start to finish on raising clones, taking clones, raising clones, keeping your mother plant alive, um, different tips and tricks like that, and other, little knick-knack paddywhacks that I can give out and stuff like that when the time comes, and I'll let you guys know, like, oh hey, I also do this and stuff like that, because sometimes right now I'll forget, ramble on and stuff like that. I used to have bulletin points, so I got a paper here with bullet points on there so I don't stray off too far from what I'm trying to talk about. Now let's see here. So we got seeds versus clones. So seeds offer genetic recombination and variation. So that's what I like. I like the variation. I like the different various types, instead of always just having a single one. Now you can have, now if you have a unicorn, well then I can understand that. If it's your unicorn, bring it. Clone all day, clone after clone after clone. But if it's, but if not, seeds. I mean, that's my opinion. Seeds, I like seeds. But clones are badass, and I do believe every grower should be able to know how to clone. Definitely learn that shit, because if you're doing it for yield, or you're doing it to help somebody out, or you're a caregiver, medical caregiver for somebody that is growing, for another patient, and you need that yield, definitely cloning is your way to go. And you can always, guys, and if you've got the room, then you can always have different variations and a shit ton of different clones going. I mean, if you have the room. On the other hand, I do not. I've got room for this 2x2 here and then 2x4 that I'll be putting in. And it'll be a total of 3 plants that I'll be able to grow. This 2x2 will now become the housing for my mother plant. And then my 2x4 will start growing in DWC. Will hold the clones. I will grow clones and grow them out. And the 2x4. And there will be 2 in there that I will be filling in. So I'll have 2 in the 2x4 and 1 in the 2x2, which I'll be keeping the mother plant in the 2x2. So, yep, that's coming up soon, guys. That'll be right for Christmas. And the strain is going to be from Free World Genetics, and it's going to be Heavy Cream, is what I'm going to be growing, guys. The photo period. It's called Heavy Cream. It's super delicious. I've had it one time, and that was in Colorado. I went to a dispensary. I got it there. They had it. I was like, I'll check out Heavy Cream. It was testing at 18%, and I was like, that's kind of low. But I was looking at the nugs and the way it smelled, and I mean, it would just look so beautiful. So I was just like, you know what? I'll take a half ounce of that. So I got a half ounce of that. Got in the car. I mean, packed the first, but I got so stoned. I mean, that shit was super fucking stony. So again, guys, don't let THC percentages fool you guys or hold you back. It higher is doesn't always necessarily mean better, guys. Okay, I've had stuff that tested out at 18%, and that shit knocked me on my ass. And I'm a stoner, guys. I've been smoking since I was 12 years old. So since I was a little kid, man. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's see here. What are we doing? So now we're talking a little bit about. We're gonna enter a little bit about tissue culture. We're gonna talk about a little bit about tissue culture, guys. So now we move into tissue culture, sometimes discussed in commercial horticulture or as micro propagation. So traditional cloning usually starts with a recognizable stem cutting. Tissue culture can start with much smaller explant, meaning a piece of plant tissue selected to begin in vitro culture. Now, in vitro, it's just meaning in glass, grown in glass. Now, although modern culture vessels can be made from different materials, the important point is that the tissue is maintained in an artificial controlled environment rather than simply being placed into an ordinary propagation medium. So if that makes sense, guys, I hope that makes sense. The culture medium provides water and carefully controlled nutrients. Plant growth regulates may be used to influence development responses. Now, light and temperature can be controlled. Now, most importantly, the process depends on aseptic technique. Why? Well, because microorganisms reproduce extremely well when they are given moisture and nutrients. A tiny fungal or bacterial contaminant can grow way faster than the plant tissue and overwhelm a culture. Now, this is one reason tissue culture is not simply cloning in a little jar. It requires a much higher level of contamination control, specialized materials, training, and careful record keeping. lab work, guys. That's what that means. Like definitely belongs in the lab. If you're doing tissue culture, that means you're in a lab, pretty much now, or you have a lab setup. Some of you guys have lab setups at your house. Kudos, man, if you have one. Um, Hell yeah, more power to you guys. Um, Now, let's talk about what happens during micropropagation. At a high level, micropropagation is often described in stages. There is an establishment stage where selected plant material is introduced into culture under aseptic conditions. Now, there is a multiplication stage where culture are managed so that additional shoots or propagule, am I saying that right? Can be produced. Now there's rooting and plant development stage, and depending on the protocol, finally the plantlets must transition from the protective in vitro in the glass environment to ordinary growing conditioning. In other words, hardening off, is what they're talking about there. Now that's now yeah, it's so it seems to me tissue culture is definitely a way to propagate and micro-propagate, obviously, cannabis. I prefer just clones then at this point, and that just seems because like you just seems like you'd run into a lot more issues with tissue culture because you have to be on point with your environment. Um, you got to have that shit on lock, Now I don't have my shit on lock. I'll tell you that right now. I fight with my environment all the fucking time. I mean, I've got fucking clipboards here. I'm such a nerd. I got clipboards here where I take down everything. My RH, I take down the dates, the times, the ppms, the ECs. I mean, I take down all that shit because I'm constantly fighting with my environment. And but once I do get my environment down, um, I'm able to go back into my clipboard and find out exactly where I was. Oh, okay, what was my art? What did I feed it? What was I could just go back to that day and find out on my clipboard what was so different. If I noticed a healthier change in my plant, or if it went the other way, I could still go back to my clipboard and find out that way. Um, yeah, let's see here. All right, so yeah, so we know that tissue culture is a pain in the ass, and that's pretty hard to do unless you have a lab setup. Like I said, you got that lab setup. I think you're rocking and rolling, and if you know what you're doing too, because it does take a level of skills to go that route. Um, but I would prefer, like I said, I would prefer cloning at this point. If I had to go between cloning and tissue culture, I would choose cloning, and just hope and pray that I kept getting a healthy donor out of my clones. So yeah. Okay, all right, guys. So we discussed a little bit about the potential federal seed ban. Potential, I say, because it is. It's potential. You know. Um. Now that like I said, guys, if that seed thing happens, guys, it's not gonna. I don't see it affecting anything too much, guys, at all. That's just my thoughts and my opinion. But in case if it did, like I said, it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop us. We're fucking gromies, man. Everybody out there, we're a really tight community, and I think we'll just thrive. We'll keep thriving and keep saving our genetics and stuff like that. So that's what I think. Yep, for sure. All right, so all right, we talked about a little bit about that. We talked about a little bit about cloning and more or less if you need to if you're new and you're tuning in and you're new and you have no idea about cloning, just go back to my videos and look up the one where I did a live on cloning and talked about cloning and stuff like that. And that should help you out for starters if you're starting out growing. Yeah, and we talked about tissue culture, a little bit about tissue culture, how much pain in the ass that is, right? Unless you have your shit together. And meaning like you have a lab, you've got your little tissue culture, petri dishes and stuff like that. Um, yeah, in order for you to be able to do stuff like that. So, and if you are able to, kudos to you. But I am not, so I will stick to clones, regular clones. I'll take my cuttings off of mother plants and keep going that way. Okay, so yeah, so seeds create new genetic combinations. Traditional clones preserve and select plant throughout vegetative propagation. Tissue culture takes vegetative propagation into a controlled laboratory environment where very small pieces of plant material can be established and potentially multiplied. Um, so you have those three things, guys, that we talked about. Um, yeah. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know in chat. Any more detailed questions, or if you guys have a topic or anything at all that you would like for me to discuss, I go live every Thursday at 7 Mountain Standard Time. Sometimes I might switch it up, to be honest with you guys. I know I do it every Thursday, but I might just start switching it up and just, maybe do it on Monday, maybe do it on a Tuesday, Wednesday, you just have to stay subscribed to me so that way you'll get notified every when I do come on live. And that way, yeah, that way you guys can come on and hear what I got to rant about. um, yep, yep. All right. Well, if there's anything else, guys, anything else that anybody wants to say to me while I'm on right now, I think about that wraps it up. Oh, guys, tomorrow I'm headed out to Denver, Colorado. I'm going to a concert. Me and my wife are going to Sublime, 311, and Slightly Stupid with a few other filler bands in there. I can't remember some of their names on stuff like that. That's going to be so that's going to be fun, guys. I'm going to take some photos. I might go live there for you guys so you guys can check it out too with me. Maybe when Sublime comes on, maybe I'll go live for a little bit and you guys can check out Sublime. I don't know, Sublime's one of my favorite bands. Um, so yeah, just wanted to throw that out there, guys. Let you know I'm super stoked. Can't wait. Um, but yeah, okay. So all right, I think that wraps it up, guys. Until the next live. All right, guys, and maybe on the next live we'll see how much people I get. If we get a bunch of people, um, hey, what's up, Mac? How's it going? Yeah, yep. We're just wrapping it up now, man. Just real quick, I'll release the video if you want. You can subscribe to my channel. I'll release the video. All we were talking about was the potential federal seed ban, along with cloning and tissue culture. Um, we were talking about that. Um, and yeah, I was just cool. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the sub. Appreciate the sub, Gromy. Hell yeah. Yeah, check it out. I'll release the as soon as I'm off here, I'll release it. I think I have it under private right now, but I'll release it to public so you guys can see the live. Um, and yeah, just go back and you can see what I was talking about, the potential seed ban and stuff like that. Again, like I say, it could go either way, but either direction it goes, I think we still got it. As cannabis community, I think we're strong enough to stay in there and keep our genetics alive and well. So okay. All right. Well, maybe on my next live, like I said, if we have a bunch of Gromies that come on to my next live, we'll do a giveaway. I'll do a Ruderalis Rex pack. And it says right on there, you'll win some stickers, a wristband, 6 magic beans. And that's magic beans, guys, and they're regular, so they could be male and female. Um, and it is a a land race photo period. So that's what they are. Um, so so yeah, maybe on my next live we'll do a giveaway or something like that. All right. Okay. So anybody else has any questions or any topics that they would like for me to discuss on my next live? I'd be more than happy. If you guys got any suggestions or if you guys want to learn about anything, and it could be anything, guys. I don't and nothing out there is too stupid. So don't feel like, like if you're like, oh, I don't want to tell them this because it might seem stupid. Nah, tell me. I don't care what it is. We'll talk about everything related cannabis. We can do a big class on that where we can just talk about everything, anything. Eventually, what I do want to do is I want to have a session where I'm just getting baked on there with you guys, and we're having tell you guys cannabis stories. For about an hour, just tell you about funny cannabis stories that happened growing out throughout my life. Maybe you guys can go on live chat and tell me back, some funny cannabis stories. I definitely want to do something like that. And yeah, okay, so I think that wraps it up, guys. All right. Much love, Gromies. Take it easy.